August 25th, 2044, a date 4 astronauts and the world watching them will never forget. Millions across Earth hold their breath. Screens everywhere flicker with the same image: a towering rocket against the Florida sky. Humanity's first crewed mission to Mars is seconds from ignition. Inside, 4 astronauts sit strapped in, hearts steady, eyes forward. Commander Rafael Ortega from South America, responsible for every life aboard. Engineer Amina Yusuf from Africa, master of mechanical systems, ready to tame any rogue engine. Dr. Mei Ling from Asia, biologist and physician, guardian of both body and mind. Pilot Jack Sullivan from North America, thinking of the daughter whose birthday he'll miss. Their ship, SpaceX Starship Ares, named for the Greek god of war. The plan, a 120-day sprint to Mars, thanks to a nuclear thermal propulsion stage waiting in orbit. A sleek lattice of tanks and radiators holding frigid liquid hydrogen, ready to burn hot and fast once free of Earth's pull. The surface stay will be just 90 days, perfectly timed to dodge Mars' fierce southern summer dust storms. Return, 105 days, riding a rare, favorable transfer window when Earth and Mars are poised for the fastest trip home. Miss it, and they'd face longer waits, dangerous storms, and dwindling supplies. This mission is the result of decades of groundwork. Elon Musk's early vision, fleets of reusable ships pre-ferrying cargo, habitats, and fuel, has become reality. Breaking Earth's chains. Methane-oxygen engines roar, shaking every bolt and rivet, hurling thousands of tons of steel and ambition skyward. The ship slices through blue until the clouds give way to black. At the Kármán line, the edge of space, gravity's grip begins to fade. The first stage drops away. The second ignites, pushing them higher still, until Earth is no longer home but a memory below. In low Earth orbit, the crew docks with the waiting NTP stage. Liquid hydrogen shimmers inside insulated tanks, protected by gold foil sunshades to keep it from boiling away. When the nuclear reactor comes online, there is no deafening roar, only a deep, steady structural vibration as hydrogen atoms are flung from the nozzle at blistering speed, twice as efficient as chemical rockets. Once the ship is clear of Earth's atmosphere, the partial gravity ring deploys, a 30-meter-wide structure unfolding and locking into place around the habitat module. Slowly it begins to turn under 4 revolutions per minute, just enough to give the crew Mars' own gravity, about 0.38 g. Muscles will still weaken, but far less than in weightlessness. Between shifts, they'll exercise, monitor life support, and retreat to a storm shelter lined with water and food stores in case the sun sends a deadly burst of radiation their way. NASA's AI, a calm voice and 1,000 silent algorithms, watches every heartbeat of both crew and ship. Outside, the black is infinite. Home is now a glowing dot, receding into memory, and ahead a red world waits. The first morning after launch feels strange. They wake to soft light and the steady hum of the habitat rings motors and pumps, a constant background note from the life support systems, and the slow spin that creates Mars-like gravity. That sound will be with them for months. Morning starts with a quick wash, a warm pouch of rehydrated eggs or oatmeal, and a nutrient bar saved for later. Some days a fresh lettuce leaf or a cherry tomato from the hydroponics rack adds a rare burst of flavor. The garden is small but vital. Under red and blue LEDs, lettuce, spinach, peppers, radishes, and cherry tomatoes grow in trays where their roots bathe in nutrient-rich water. That water is partly recycled from the crew's waste via a sealed bioreactor. Waste feeds the plants feed the crew. The faint scent of damp leaves sometimes makes Jack stop mid-step, just breathing it in. The days settle into a rhythm. Ortega checks navigation. Amina fine-tunes the nuclear thermal engines and life support systems. Mei Ling monitors health and tends the plants. Jack keeps the ship's orientation steady for optimal power and shielding. Exercise is mandatory. Resistance bands, stationary bikes, and slow jogs along the rotating ring to keep muscles strong and reduce gravity. Evenings are the best part. They gather at the small table, trade stories, laugh, or simply sit in companionable silence. Out here, there's no small talk. Every word feels deliberate, but the ship's walls can't block everything. Cosmic rays, high-energy particles from deep space, slip through despite the layers of hydrogen-rich polymers, polyethylene, and boron compounds lining the habitat. Most are stopped. Some still reach their cells. To help, each astronaut's DNA has been edited with traits from Deinococcus radiodurans, a microbe famous for surviving radiation thousands of times stronger than humans normally could. It won't make them invincible, but it might buy them time. Distance adds another challenge: delay. By day 30, each message to Earth takes 6 minutes to get a reply. By day 90, it'll be 10. When they reach Mars, a simple question and answer exchange will stretch to half an hour. The crew learns to live with the expanding silence. Sunday night, the moment they wait for all week. From Earth, the Mission Control Center forwards a bundle of messages, one for each crew member. Short videos from family, from friends, from the voices they miss the most. Faces appear on the screen, speaking with love, with hope, with that quiet ache of longing, a child showing a new drawing, a partner whispering goodnight, parents reminding them to stay strong. And the crew responds with eagerness, recording replies late into the night, their voices bright, their words overflowing with stories and reassurances meant to cross the void back home. These messages are more than words. They are lifelines. The next morning, the files are gone. Commander Rafael Ortega retrieves them, locking them into the ship's digital archives. One day, future generations will study these recordings to understand what it truly felt like to be the first to leave Earth for Mars. By day 30 in deep space, the steady hum of the ship's life support systems had become a second heartbeat. The constant thrum of fans, pumps, and coolant lines moving through the hull. Mei Ling sat alone by the water recycling unit, shoulders tense, eyes locked on the quiet swirl of filters and tubing. Jack Sullivan approached quietly, offering a protein bar, a small kindness in an ocean of mechanical noise. Her thoughts had drifted back to Earth. During NASA's 378-day Mars surface simulation, a relentless trial of isolation, her boyfriend had walked away. He couldn't handle the weight, the distance, or the future she was building. She thought she'd sealed that hurt away, but today it had found its way back. Jack lingered, sensing her silence had weight. When he gently asked, She told him about the breakup and about the metaphor she carried. Quantum entanglement. Two particles linked so deeply that distance doesn't break their connection. She was now 55 million kilometers from Earth, yet still felt tethered to him by an invisible thread. Jack leaned back, thoughtful. "If it's like quantum entanglement," he said, "then both sides have to be connected. If he's moved on, maybe the link's already gone. Maybe love doesn't follow the physics we know." Silence settled over them, thick with questions even the ship's most advanced artificial intelligence couldn't solve. Love, loyalty, loneliness. Outside, Mars glowed like a distant ember. Inside, two hearts edged a little closer to understanding. By day 40, life aboard the ship had settled into a steady rhythm. Meals, checks, maintenance. Tonight, the common area glowed with soft light, shadows dancing as they gathered around the round table. Alone in the vastness of space with no help from Earth, the endless routine pushed their minds toward the big questions: the meaning of life, the nature of humanity, evolution, and the tragedies that define us. Commander Rafael Ortega broke the quiet. "People compare us to Columbus," he said, "as if we're discovering new lands. But Mars has been known for millennia. Maybe we are settlers crossing a cosmic Atlantic to create a new world. Yet I see us more like the first humans leaving Africa, starting migrations that eventually spread across the Earth." Engineer Amina Yusuf nodded, then added her own shadow to the story. "No one knows what happened to those first humans. Maybe they vanished like Roanoke, England's first North American settlement, where the people disappeared without a trace, leaving only the word Croatoan carved into a post." Raphael's voice softened. "Sometimes ignorance was a gift," he said. "History remembers that the African humans spread across continents, not how many failed. They had no technology, no rockets, no AI to guide them. The settlers who crossed oceans did so in wooden ships. And now here we are, with every advantage those ancestors could only dream of." Mars wasn't waiting with hostile natives. Our odds had never been better. But Roanoke's ghost stayed in the room. That night, even with doubled sedatives, sleep was restless. Dreams of deserts, lost voices, and shadows just beyond the light. Commander Ortega sat at his console, recording a birthday message for his daughter. A single strand of love stretched across millions of miles. But before it could leave the ship's AI issued a solar flare warning, radiation levels spiking, plasma from the sun racing toward them. The flare slammed into the ship's communications window, scattering radio signals in the charged solar wind. The message stalled. The birthday passed. That night, the cabin felt heavier. Silence hung like a shroud. Dreams fractured. Loneliness reached deeper. The crew could feel the gap between themselves and Earth widening, and with it, the gap between each other. Nature bared its teeth once more. A micrometeoroid, smaller than a grain of sand but racing at over 40 kilometers per second, slammed into the ship's outer Whipple shield. The impact vaporized part of the particle instantly, but a tiny fragment punched through to an inner layer, tripping the hull breach alarms. Boots pounded on the deck. Tools moved fast. The breach was sealed in minutes. Pressure stabilized. Crisis over. But the hit left more than a dent in the metal. It cracked the crew's sense of safety. Space wasn't a quiet void. It was a restless, unpredictable predator. The missed birthday and hull breach left scars no metal could patch. Air feels heavier, conversations shorter, smiles rarer. Each retreats into private logs, a quiet space where fears spill out like digital tears. Raphael speaks of conversations he wishes he'd had, especially with Jack. Once Jack's humor had been a lifeline. Now it feels like a wall. We're millions of miles from Earth, he says, yet somehow we're drifting farther apart. Amina logs another repair, another task ticked off. People? That's harder. Raphael pushes too hard. Jack hides behind jokes. May drifts away. She wants to help, but she's not a counselor. Maybe none of them are. May buries herself in experiments. Plants don't argue back. She notices Raphael's tension, Jack's restless energy, Amina's quiet strain, yet wonders if anyone sees her fading. Jack's log is light, but the cracks show. Ghosts in a tin can, he calls them. He jokes to keep the light on, but inside he's held together with duct tape. He misses normal. He misses the crew. 2 months in, the visible wounds were healing, but the invisible ones lingered. Amina Yusuf was feeling off. Aching legs, restless nights dragging her down. Finally, she turned to Mei Ling for a checkup. As May scanned her with the ship's compact med unit, Amina broke the quiet. "You know," she said softly, "there's something NASA never prepared us for." May looked up, eyebrows raised. "Oh? What's that?" "It's not just the physical place we're in," Amina explained. "It's the mental space, the endless monotony, trapped in this sealed habitat, weeks away from any rescue. It's exhausting." She paused, her voice steady but low. "I think I've figured out why. Deep inside, the limbic system, the old brain, is running the show. All emotions and survival instincts. But the neocortex, the new brain, is the one doing the planning and abstract thinking this mission needs. Right now they're fighting. The old brain wants comfort and safety. The new brain pushes for exploration. That tug of war, it's in our irritability, our nerves, everywhere." May's lips curled into a small, amused smile. "Well, when we get back, we'll all be philosophers." They shared a quiet laugh, and for a brief moment, the crushing isolation loosened its grip. 19 days later, a different battle was underway. 82 days without Earth's pull, and low gravity was winning the quiet war. Commander Raphael felt a deep ache in his legs, muscles weakening, bones thinning, despite the rotating habitat generating about 40% of Earth's gravity. Dr. Mei Ling moved carefully, fighting stiff joints and dizziness as her inner ear still refused to adapt. Pilot Jack endured blurred vision and headaches from fluids pooling in his head, a common low-gravity curse on eyesight. Diets were adjusted, supplements boosted, workouts doubled. A message to Earth brought little more than encouragement. The distance made real medical intervention impossible. Mission Control urged them to hold the line. Health improved, but only slightly, and the strain was starting to show in their bodies, their voices, and the long silences between words. At first, they replied to every message with fierce devotion. Long recordings, detailed updates, words meant to bridge the distance. But as the weeks turned into months, that devotion faded. Now some messages go unanswered. The silence is not neglect, it is exhaustion, a quiet testament to the weight of distance, to the slow erosion of energy and spirit on the long road to Mars. Even so, the ritual remains. The messages still arrive every Sunday night, but the joy they once brought is now mingled with a sharper loneliness. By day 105, even the plants were struggling. The steady thrum of air recyclers filled the habitat until Amina cut it with a sigh. She stared at wilting spinach leaves, their edges curling under harsh LED light. Jack floated in. "Even the garden's giving up on us," he said, his voice heavy. "It's not giving up," Amina replied, sharper than she meant. "Nutrient imbalance. I've been troubleshooting all morning." Jack's voice cracked. "You can fix engines, Amina, but you can't fix loneliness. You can't fix missed birthdays. You can't fix being trapped out here." Her tone softened, but her eyes stayed steady. "The garden isn't just food, it's hope. If it fails, so do we." Jack looked away. "I just wish someone knew how hard this really is." "I do," she said quietly. "We all do. That's why we keep going, for the plants and for each other." In the silence that followed, the truth lingered. Fragile plants, fragile crew, both fighting to survive in the endless dark. 119 days at the edge of human endurance. Mars loomed ahead, their ship hurtling toward it at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour. Too fast, and they'd slingshot past into a cold, endless solar orbit. Too slow, and they risked dipping too far into Mars's thin atmosphere, where heat and structural stress could tear the ship apart. Every second of the retrograde burn had to be perfect. Engines firing in reverse to bleed just enough velocity for Mars to claim them. One frozen valve, one software glitch, and the 119-day journey would end in minutes. The cabin was tense. The vibrations of the engines traveled through the ship's structure, a deep physical tremor that pressed into their bones. Outside, Mars grew in the viewport. Beautiful, merciless. Engines cut. Silence took over. Mars had caught them. They were no longer wanderers. They were residents in another world's gravity well. Their landing was set for January 22nd. Mars filled the viewport, but something stirred in the swirling ochre clouds below. A dust storm churned over Arcadia Planitia, larger and stronger than forecasts predicted. Mission control crackled through the comm. "Hold descent. Visibility low. Surface conditions unsafe. We advise a 7-day delay in orbit." Arcadia was usually calm in the northern winter, but Mars was still wild, untamed. The crew, already stretched thin by months of isolation, felt the delay like a punch to the chest. Below, the storm coiled and uncoiled, a living thing of dust and fury, breathtaking, brutal. 7 days of waiting, circling the planet like moths around a dim red lantern. The storm blanketed Arcadia in a ghostly veil. Time stretched. The view outside never changed. Tempers frayed, conversations shortened, and silences grew heavier. Then, static broke. Storm subsiding, surface conditions improving. Prepare for descent. They strapped in, eyes locked on the monitors. The descent began. The lander detached from the orbiter, plunging through Mars' thin air at over 20,000 kilometers per hour. Plasma flared around the heat shield, glowing orange in the viewport. G-forces pressed them into their seats. Parachutes deployed, cutting speed, but not enough. Retro rockets roared, targeting a landing zone no bigger than a sports field. The AI navigation system scanned below, adjusting the final descent. A hard jolt, then stillness. Dust swirled past the windows. They had landed. Humans now stood on Mars, while the main ship waited above, ready for their eventual return. The real danger was only beginning. Radiation, scarce supplies, micrometeoroid strikes. Survival here would be a daily battle. The landing was only the start. The true test began now. Next episode, their first days on Mars. Battling the elements, building a foothold, and discovering what lies beneath Arcadia Planitia.